So I am delighted to welcome one of my favorite colleagues with the loudest voice, Andrea Ippolito, who does a whole bunch of things in the entrepreneurship scene at Cornell. So Andrea, take it away.
Yeah, well, hello everybody. How's everyone doing? 9 a.m. Friday morning. Yes. The students aren't up yet, but we are.
I wasn't lying, was I? Nope.
Well, thank you all so much for being here for this very, very important conversation surrounding pathways to angel investing. As Zach said, my name is Andrea Ippolito. I have a couple different roles at Cornell. I teach, run the Cornell program with my amazing colleagues here. But I also run my own company. We are venture-backed, raised $6 million last year. It's called SimpliFed, simplifed.com. Always be hustling, check it out. But I'm here today to talk about angel investing with this incredible panel and how this is going to work. I'm going to give some quick background on, frankly, the business case, not surprising, for getting into angel investing, but in particular for getting into angel investing to help support female funders and founders. But more broadly, this is such a great opportunity to learn more about the gateway drug of angel investing, and we're going to talk about that today. We're going to have some panel questions, and then we're going to come out to all of you, and we're going to talk to you about your ventures, what you're interested in, gives and asks, and then we're going to round out with Q&A, and we're going to do it all in 50 minutes. God bless. Okay, so very excited. Really quickly, can you raise your hand if you are a student? Oh, yes, students, for being here at 9 a.m. Yeah, round of applause. Can you raise your hand if you are an entrepreneur? Amazing, love it, love it. Can you raise your hand if you're involved in investing in some capacity? Excellent, 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 hooray. So look at that, great group here. We're gonna talk very briefly on the business case for this. Bottom line up front, investing in women and BIPOC fund managers and founders isn't philanthropy. It's just damn good business. It's about performance. It is not philanthropy, and sometimes we conflate it too much. But let me give you the data behind that. Startups funded by women exit faster, and we make more money. We tend to be more innovative, and we just make more money. Hooray on that. Female investment partners perform better. Why do they perform better? Not surprising. Venture capital firms with women partners are twice as likely to invest in companies with at least one woman involved. And as we just talked about, we know female founders perform better. They make more money. A study from Paul Gompers and Silpa Calvila highlight women VCs increase the percentage of female partners at their firms. When they did that, they saw an increase in 1.5% in the overall fund returns each year. So again, more of the business case. It's about performance. It is not philanthropy. Supporting female founders, you do better. And who tends to invest in more female founders? Female funders, and they tend to do better. So hooray on that. So here's the thing. Cornell has always been better than the rest and ahead of its time. And it goes back to our founding mission. Any person, any study. Take a second and think about that. In the mid-1860s, saying that. That's something that honestly makes me teary every time I think about it. On the heels of the Civil War, saying any person, any study. And we have fulfilled that mission. For instance, in the College of Engineering, we were the first university to have gender parity. And you see this across the business school, the vet school. You see this across the university with our patenting and our intellectual property. And so let's be leaders and continue to be leaders again and again. And one of the ways we can do that is get more students and alumni involved in investing, and in particular angel investing. And that's why we're here today. So hooray, panel. I'm going to briefly introduce our panelists. So Tiffany Norwood is considered one of the top innovators and tech entrepreneurs in the world. Her startups have impacted billions of people in more than 150 plus countries. Tiffany was named the 2022 Entrepreneur of the Year by Cornell, the first Black woman to receive this Lifetime Achievement Award in its nearly 40-year history. Tiffany first became a CEO while a junior at Cornell, hooray on that, filed for a patent at the age of 19, licensed her first software code for a multi-billion-dollar bank merger at the age of 24. And by the age of 27, Tiffany did something that no other entrepreneur has done since she's raised over $650 million to fund a startup called WorldSpace. As early space entrepreneurs, WorldSpace used that money to launch 3 satellites into space, build the first ever global digital radio platform, including XM radio, support the development of MP3/MP4 technologies, and at the request of then President Nelson Mandela, invest in a new generation of solar-powered satellite radio to help in his campaign. And it goes on and on. Like, holy moly. Whew, I'm exhausted just reading that. Thank you, Tiffany, for being with us here today.
Go Quick Red!
Amazing, amazing. Well, super excited to welcome Susan Danziger. During her time at Cornell, Susan was an art history major with a focus on the Renaissance. So it's no coincidence that she's been called a Renaissance investor in her most recent endeavors. And full disclosure, she's an investor in my company, so thank you for that. Hooray. She's an investor, philanthropist, connector, Cornell parent, huge supporter of entrepreneurs, and that's just at this moment. She most recently sold her video tech company, Zigio. What may not be quite as well known is one of her other companies, Daily Lit, launched the first books on phones, pioneer there. So add innovator to the list. Susan is now building Eutopia, Greek for a good place, not perfect place, through an venture firm and foundation. Her 100+ investments focus on historically underrepresented founders and funders, and she creates replicable models with pilots in affordable housing, universal basic income called Hudson Up, and medical debt relief. She also founded Wally Farms, a climate action farm, as well as the Spark of Hudson, a community learning hub. So thank you so much for being here, Susan. Woo woo! And last but certainly not least, Deb Kemper is a partner at Golden Seed Ventures, an early stage venture fund where she invests in enterprise software, advanced materials, and med tech companies. She's a former McKinsey consultant where she served clients in the industrial and healthcare sectors. She previously led the Boston Forum of Golden Seeds, one of the largest, truly pioneers, talk about pioneers, one of the largest and most active angel investor groups in the US, and one of the first to focus on gender-diverse founding teams when they launched in 2004. Over 200 companies have been funded by Golden Seeds with over $170 million in direct investment. These companies have attracted follow-on capital of well over $1.2 billion. Prior to using her expertise to lead Golden Seed Ventures, Deb built a personal angel portfolio over 24 early stage investments. So thank you so much for being here, Deb. So, woo woo! So as you can tell, incredibly excited to be here with this panel who are experts, not just entrepreneurs, and they're also expert investors of all different flavors and types. So we're going to talk through a few questions. So goal of this panel is to talk first about pathways to angel investing. And this is such a great opportunity for students to learn more about it. And even as a student, you can get involved with angel investing. And we hope that more in the Cornell community can get involved in angel investing to fuel the amazing Cornell ventures that are happening across the world. So Deb, what does the spectrum of investing look like from angels to venture?
Awesome. And she is a tough act to follow, right? With all that energy. So angel investor, first thing, just given the mix of the audience, right, let's talk about what angel investing is. It's private capital going into companies, right? These aren't public stocks that you can go trade tomorrow, buy today, sell tomorrow, resell, right? It's private money. You're then selling in and having to hold it for a while until there is something called a liquidity event. Second, angels are investing their own money. Right? So these are people who are writing you a personal check. I mean, you heard Andrea say, right, Susan's invested in her company, right? These are private relationships and investments that go in. And so you can either do that individually, right, through relationships, or you can do it as part of a group, right? I started as part of a group. It was just more comfortable for me. It's how I learned a lot about the industry and the sector. Let's see, angels also like to be bringing their own intellectual capital as well as their financial capital, right? So they want to know the founders. They usually are trying to bring expertise. Many of them are probably previously entrepreneurs or founders themselves who understand the challenges and want to go in and help you as a new company grow and avoid some mistakes if you can, right? Help you, I have to say, coming from my consulting days, right? Help you see around corners that you may not know are coming down the road. And then the biggest thing I want to, like, along the stream here is what's different with angels versus venture capital, because some companies can go either way in their early days. Key difference here is venture capital is pooled capital, and it's someone investing other people's money, right? So it could be high net worth individuals, but it's also generally, and the majority of it is institutional money. What's institutional? It's endowments, like Cornell University's endowment. It's also pension funds, right? These big pools of capital that have a lot of their funding in the public markets or bond markets, but they also have a sliver that's going into, it's probably more than a sliver, into the private markets because A, there's more companies there to invest in, and B, they generally get higher returns on average over these other forms. So it's how you get those higher returns. So that's the broad spectrum and some of the differences of what you'll hear.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much, Deb. And what's super exciting about this is that, and we're going to talk and build upon this, is there's so many different ways to get in. It's not just for super, super wealthy folks. You can get into it even starting now. So more to come.
More to come.
So Tiffany, so can you talk about the role of investors in your ventures?
Yeah, I mean, what Deb said is so accurate about the personal relationship between investors and founders. It's a very intimate relationship, and having founded my first company in the 80s when also society was different, right? So in society, in general, women were struggling to break through various industries. I'm predominantly a tech entrepreneur, so in tech, and even still now, right? But I think in the past, some of it we could account to just the dynamic going on in society, because people didn't have like friends of different genders, like if they had, say for example, if you were a man and you had a female friend, it was basically a relative or a spouse, you know what I mean? Like you didn't have society intermingling in that way, either through gender or race, etc. So I'll give a few people a pass for that reason in the past, for why it was harder for women and people of color and sort of non-typical founders to get money. But now that's not the case, and as Andrea said with the data, it's actually irrational, because you would make more money if you invested in organizations and startups that had female founders. And I'm sure if we look at diversity, I don't have the numbers offhand, but I'll do what you did, right? You'll probably see the same, because we can see it around the world at a country level. Our success as a country is anchored in our diversity as a country, right? Like we would be on a whole different trajectory, for example, if we still had slavery. We wouldn't have even if we looked at it from an economic perspective, right? We wouldn't have the level of success as a company. And I know because Andrea mentioned that when Nelson Mandela became president of South Africa, excuse me, I had the pleasure and opportunity to go down there and serve him with, we were launching the satellite. So he said, instead of North America, which eventually became XM Radio, can you pivot and do Africa and the Middle East first, so that I can have a communications infrastructure to communicate with the whole country? Oh, and then we said yes to that. And like any good politician, it's like, sucker, right? So then he was like, after we did all that, he's like, oh, and by the way, can you create a satellite radio that's solar powered and kinetic so that everyone can access it? And we ended up doing that too. But also, I was there for like 2 years as they were trying to establish democracy. And it's really tough, not only on people, but on society and the economy. So I just wanted to reinforce that message. Now, when we come back to financing and raising money as a founder, I'm really excited about all the female funders that are out there now, because that makes a huge difference. I'm really excited about the data that's out there now. Is Mike K in the audience? If you are, raise your hand. No? Anyway, he was my very first investor. He was a fellow student at Cornell and doing student agencies when we were starting our company and filing for a patent. And so he was my first investor. And to that statement about the intimacy of relationships, we're still friends like 40 years later. But I would just say to my fellow founders in the room of all genders, it's about storytelling. Even if you're an unusual founder and so it's hard for you to raise money and you might see your peers telling the story 100 or 200 times and getting money, tell it 1,000 times to get money. I think that was one of the secrets of my success, is that I just kept going. I didn't stop. That I did master storytelling versus, I know everyone focuses on pitches now, but I use narrative, I use storytelling. Take an improv class. I ended up doing that before I raised the 670 million, and then a follow-on of about 200 million, so nearly $1 billion. I had taken improv classes and everything beforehand because I was like, this storytelling stuff really matters, because I'd already done 2 startups. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to hearing more of what Susan has to say, because she also invested in some community work that I was doing to increase entrepreneurship in schools.
Yeah, and that's actually a great transition point, because Susan, can you talk a little bit about some of the basics of angel investing and impact investing as well, because you're pretty prolific in both of those categories.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So it may be helpful to kind of talk about what impact investing is first, and then talk a little bit about a few tips and things I've picked up along the way. So what is impact investing to me? Impact investing is 3 things. One is that for me, it needs to be sustainable. And that's sustainable for the earth, so good for the earth, or at least doing no harm, but also financially sustainable. Do I see a pathway to profitability in the startups I invest in? The second criteria for me is inclusiveness. So I invest predominantly in women, Black, and BIPOC founders. And the third for me is, does the investing reflect my values? What do I mean by that? Things like well-being, do we stand up for each other? Is there joyfulness? So an example is I've recently been investing in psychedelics, which I believe is the future of mental health.
That's joyfulness.
It's joyfulness, indeed, indeed. We can talk about that later. In terms of things I picked up along the way, you mentioned people investing, they can start now. I never invest more money than I can afford to lose. I like to sleep well at night. The second thing is that the money that I invest in, I really want it to make a difference between something happening and not. And then the last point is that, and this is, people know this in the investment world, that I invest in lines and not dots. So Andrea, you're a great example. I didn't invest in your company the first time I met you. I watched you with the teaching of entrepreneurship at Cornell and the advising of the Cornell and working on the white paper of which this was based. You may not know that Andrea served on the transition team for the Biden administration, and all that with 2 kids and 1 on the way. So she was an obvious one to invest in that I got to know over time.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. Oh, gosh, this is like an amazing panel. Hooray, energy and learning. Well, Deb, I'm going to come back to you. So how can one start making investments, and what are the pathways to angel investment?
Okay, so just building a little bit off what something Susan said, I sort of made 3 Ds, right? There's dollars that you're investing, there's diversification of your portfolio, right? And then there's due diligence that you have to do. And there's different ways and amounts of time to do that. So one is, do you want to be picking, right, all the time? It takes time, but you want to learn how to do that. If you really want to be an angel investor, right, generally there are people who want to have control over what they're picking. So even as students, you can start doing this, right? There's crowdfunding platforms. There's things like Kiva where you can make microloans. That's how I got started, was doing some Kiva and some Kickstarters, right, just to get a sense of what was out there. And there's other there's a ton of crowdfunding sites. I can't list them all, but Republic, which lets you buy equity in companies, et cetera. If you have more time and feel you have some experience, right? Mentoring. I mean, we just heard about the Praxis Center, but there's tons of accelerators just on campus and incubators, but they're also in every city in the country now, have some form of accelerator or incubator program. There's ones that are remote, and so if you have experience and it could be anything, you don't have to have been a founder. I wasn't a founder, I was a consultant. I'm really good at asking questions of founders that get them thinking differently, right? So don't feel like you have to have been a founder to be an investor or to give advice or guidance and coaching to companies. So finding your way that way, because then you go to these events, you see a lot of different companies, and you start seeing what guides you and where you want to start investing. So for me, I started in clean tech and some ed tech and then the gender focus, and just sort of got sucked into the gender focus because I could do everything there. I didn't have to pick a sector. And then if you're an accredited investor, right, which there is this sort of this line around net worth or income, which most Cornell alums will hit, right? Then there's a lot more options. You can get into SPVs, these special purpose vehicles where people are pooling capital. You can join angel groups, right, where you can get both training on how to do due diligence and really research companies, but also there's some protection, because generally the longer people have been investing, the more they've seen and the more they know what to avoid and just what you're looking for in terms of some of the contracts that go around the investment. But there's a lot of ways to get in to it, and I just sort of say put your toe in and start learning, right? There is their own language in this industry. I remember that, like, what's a Series A, what's this, what's that? And by the way, those terms change over time in terms of the dollar amounts, but like any industry, it has its own language. And we're at Cornell, right? We all know how to dig in and learn new things. And as one of my favorite professors I saw yesterday said, I said, well, I haven't really used my engineering degree as an engineer. He's like, but you're using the problem solving. Right, and I think he just nailed it, 35 years later, that I use my problem-solving skills I learned at Cornell every day as an angel investor.
Can I just chime in and just say one thing that a lot of people don't focus on when they think about investing? It is super fun.
It is super fun.
It is like you're meeting all of these incredible people who are working on these amazing problems. You're learning about the subject matter themselves that you have no idea about, right? And if you're lucky enough to have the funds to be able to help them do the investing, then you're helping them kind of get to the next level. And it's just such an amazingly fun experience. So just on that factor.
Susan, building that, because you mentioned Gateway, right,
Yeah.
earlier. So I did this thinking, I'm going to do this for a little bit. I'm going to find a company to actually go into and help operate. And then I realized I really love the investing side. And so I've just stayed on the investing side and just kind of moved up the food chain in that world.
Yeah, and some of the platforms that Deb mentioned, you can start with $1,000. You can start with $500. It doesn't need to be a lot.
Kiva and Kickstarter, you can start with $10 or $25.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, I think I did something and it was like a new kind of plug, which now is everywhere. But at the time, it was really fun to say, I'm helping this founder get started, right, with their Kickstarter campaign. Kickstarter is a great way to start. That is a gateway.
Exactly, gives you a taste. Well, next we go to Tiffany and Susan. So how can we help entrepreneurs, even if you're not investing money, say, into them? And let's start with you, Tiffany, and then let's go to Susan.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done any of my startups, and I'm on my 7th, 8th, and 9th startup right now. I like you, sort of.
You're a parallel founder, not serial.
Like Andrea, I do better when I'm doing multiple things at one time. But the way that I find that people are most helpful is especially in the early stages. The early stages are so precarious, you're so vulnerable. My perspective as an entrepreneur is that until I go cash flow positive, I'm effectively failing, right? Because if I stop, then it's a loss. And so I just embrace that experience. Like, people ask me about failure often, and I was like, I don't really believe in it because I'm failing all the time, until I go cash flow positive. I'm always failing. What's the big deal? But in that state, having people step in with time, with introductions, with providing their expertise, like as a tech entrepreneur, for example, people that have stepped in around intellectual property, which I'm still trying to master, people that step in and just be helpful with spreading the word of whatever your story is that you're trying to create to is also very helpful. And if you can, as a founder, find someone who can provide emotional support, that is really potent. And no one talks about it, right? It's usually not your friends and family, spoiler alert. It's probably someone that has gone through it before, like a fellow founder. Because people and companies don't win, products and companies don't win or fail, people do, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I think everyone has something to offer, right? You may not even realize it. So, for instance, you can be a customer of somebody's. I tend to purchase like my clothes and jewelry from women founders. My jewelry is from a black woman, actually, entrepreneur in Berlin, who is an incredible entrepreneur, makes beautiful jewelry. This is Cynthia Rowley. So I tend to put my money where my mouth is in terms of being a consumer, a customer. Networks, right? You mentioned that. I mean, everybody has people we know, and you can brainstorm people. I mean, I love the emotional support, and actually, this very simple thing you can do is ask an entrepreneur, what is it that you need? How can I help? Super simple. In fact, why don't we actually try it out a little bit? Andrea, this is in my own self-interest because I'm an investor. What is it that you need and how can we help?
Well, two things that SimpliFed needs are introductions to healthcare systems, so provider groups, especially OB-GYNs, pediatricians, family medicine. So would love introductions there. And secondly, introductions to health plan. I'm looking for someone from Cigna specifically right now. We have a national Aetna contract, but we're looking to get Cigna. And we're on our way with United, but could use any help there too. So just to put it out there to the ether.
Okay, well, instead of just putting it out to the ether, actually, let's get concrete here. Who is familiar with the healthcare system and who may be able to help Andrea make connections in healthcare? Raise your hand. Oh, okay.
Excellent. Love it. No pressure.
Okay, if you could maybe introduce yourself. And I'm going to hold this because people tend to go on and on. So maybe introduce yourself. No offense.
My name is Fareed. I think we've met before multiple times. I'm the first student in the MD MEng program. I'm an MD PhD student, so I've been in school forever. And many of the people who I started med school with are actually now, pediatricians, OB-GYNs, et cetera. So I know practitioners.
Awesome. So maybe that's a good connection with practitioners. Anybody else who can help Andrea?
Too, so
In the hold on a second. Okay.
And by the way,
And this is in my own self-interest.
to give you a sneak preview, we're going to go.
You want to introduce yourself?
around the room
Why don't you
next
stand
for
up
all
so
of
people
you.
can see you?
Hello. Oh, you're going to hold it. Okay. I'm Ariel Barash. I'm here representing MedExplain, which was founded by the Chief of General Internal Medicine at Weill Cornell, who works very closely with the head of OB-GYN,
Excellent.
who contributes.
We were just
to
talking
us.
about this last night. I will come find you. Excellent.
Awesome. And actually, why don't you keep standing up? What I'd like to do is just do some quick pitches from entrepreneurs and see maybe, I understand you're an entrepreneur as well. You want to give a quick 10-second pitch as to what you're up to?
Sure. Okay. So healthcare communication is broken. Doctor's appointments are whirlwinds, and health literacy is very low. Only 12% of people are considered health literate in the United States. So we have founded a platform that will be free to the patient online to have low health literacy, easy to understand information.
Okay, so you provide information to patients. So you're also interested maybe in connecting with, what is it that you need?
We need help with our business plan, business modeling. We have a lot of doctor and research base, but not very much business base.
Okay, so business plans. Who can help with business plans? Juan, do you want to, what is it that you do?
Hello, person I've never met before. Hi, my name's Jetty. I am current entrepreneur in residence here at Cornell, also previously founded, well, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, but I most recently founded a Harvard-incubated mental health startup focused on addiction, so I explored the for-profit, non-profit space, bunch of digital health.
And how can you help?
Oh, yeah, sure. So usually it's with business pitch competition, kind of prep or business model planning, a lot of product and customer validation. We teach that a lot at Cornell EIR team.
Oh, it's amazing. And in fact, like, it's great that you're sitting next to each other, so maybe you guys could connect. You've connected. Okay, perfect. But it sounds like for people who have issues or questions, entrepreneurs in terms of pitch competitions, business plans, this may be the person. Who else here is an entrepreneur? Oh, there we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yuexing Hao. I'm a first-year PhD student at Human-Centered Design. My company is called Hug Smart Sticker. So it's a intelligent, personalized medication tracking, which will attach to a box, bottle, pills for multiple types of the medications or supplements.
Wow, we have a lot of medical startups out here, which is wonderful. And what is it that you need help with?
So we need help with fundings, very important. We're actually applying for the accelerator, RAV accelerator, and also fundings, and we're actively waiting for the replies.
Fantastic. By the way, if you're an investor in the audience here, can you raise your hand? Okay, oh, Elisa. Stand up.
Hi, folks. I'm Elisa Miller-Out. I'm managing partner at Chloe Capital. I am also an entrepreneur in residence right here at Cornell as well, so I help mentor a lot of the startups from both the student and alum community as well. And I do have both a quick offer to this community as well, which is for folks who are interested in getting involved in angel investing and VC and wanting to learn more about the space we're talking about with this panel. We actually have a course on our website that's an impact investing course that also serves as like a 101 course for angel investing and impact. And we designed it so that some of the amazing women and diverse founders that we work with could learn how to become investors and transform from founders into funders while they're going through their journey. And it's also open to all of you who would like to learn more about the space.
That's amazing. Okay, so it's a course in angel investing that you have on your site. And how do people find your site?
Yeah, just chloecapital.com, super easy to find. And I also have a quick question for the panel while we're here, which is, I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on how these incredible institutions like Cornell can get involved with this space?
Oh, Andrea, do you want to take that?
I will definitely take that. So one of the interesting things that, as Deb was referring to earlier, is that one of the big funders of investors are things like pension funds and university endowments. And so one of the ways we know that we can increase more capital to female founders is getting more money to female funders. And who has a role in that is university endowments. Because they are often one of the big funders of venture capital firms. But in particular, we think it's a huge opportunity to get more emerging fund managers who often are women and BIPOC funders. And so one of the things I think would be really interesting for Cornell to continue to be a leader in is to provide transparency of, what does that look like right now? And are we investing in emerging fund managers? And as we know, it's a performance thing. It will allow the endowment to perform better because we know that, for instance, female founders and female funders do perform better. So that's one of the things that we should all be asking our university endowment of, what does that data look like?
Great, so more transparency in the endowment so we can figure out who they're investing in. Awesome, thanks. Do we have another entrepreneur? Oh, we have another entrepreneur here. Chris, you want to?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Chris Barr. So what I'm working on is, so we have employees, they spend more than 4 hours in a week trying to find information to do their job through tools like Slack, emails, and Jira. So what we're making is a single search box to actually search through your entire data. So I actually built the same tool at Meta. So what I need help with is a go-to-market plan.
A go-to-market plan, so that includes maybe sales help?
Exactly.
Sales, are there people who are experts here in sales? And I guess it would be in the enterprise market. So enterprise sales. Do we have some, we have an enterprise sales expert. Want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Dave Manor. My company is Startup Sales.
Great. And you can, great. And you can maybe
I've got to
help
see you
with
too, Dave.
be help with enterprise sales. Maybe you guys could connect afterwards. That sounds
Excellent.
awesome. Okay.
And
Do
Susan,
we
we probably
have
time for one more
another-
before we
oh,
go
oh,
to
oh,
Q&A.
okay, hold on. Okay, what's your name, please?
Hi, I'm David Barton, and
Stand up?
sure. This is sort of relevant. I'm in the fitness business, but I've been sort of bridging healthcare and fitness, which is something that's sort of happening. There's this name is a word MedFit. I'm not really sure what that means, but anyway, I'm bringing some sort of healthcare / medicine into the fitness space. I do gyms, and I think like the gym is a place that people go to regularly, so I think it's a great place to access healthcare. And
So what do you need help with?
what do I need help with? Nothing, but I have to
Or what can you offer?
Oh, I can offer. I mean, I connect, right? I know a lot of people. I know a lot of things, and I've been around for a while. But I have to say that a lot of my friends are entrepreneurs, and this is a really interesting topic because most of them they all love what they do. As entrepreneurs.
So fun, right?
And yeah. One thing that also they all hate going to look for capital when they're like growth. When it's growth, they're like looking to start something up. They all hate it. It's like the worst part of the gig.
Totally agree.
So maybe somebody has some thoughts about how to make it easier for like entrepreneurs to go out and sort of connect.
How to make it more fun for entrepreneurs to raise capital.
Less horrible.
Less horrible, less painful. Well, are there any thoughts? Gwen, did you self-fund your startup? So you didn't even have to go to get capital. Okay. Are there people here who have had fun raising capital?
We have to go to Q&A, but we're going to actually talk about that at the very end. So I love that. So we'll put a pin in that. And thank you for raising, because there are such great resources like Red Bear, Angels, et cetera, and we're going to talk about some of those. So actually, Susan, if you want to stay out there, we'd like to open it up for Q&A for a couple minutes. So what questions do folks have for the panel?
While Susan's walking back there, I'll say, David, I do your classes. The virtual classes you do.
Amazing. I love that.
Thank you so much. Just want to do what we did for 10 seconds. So my name is MEng. I'm a junior undergrad. So far I'm working on a project who's trying to help people do an anonymous review of their mental health services, so people can avoid social stigma while helping people with the similar issue or similar experiences. Just currently looking for networking, currently looking for people who want to work with me to develop the MVP. So that would be the thing.
All right. Do we have anybody who might be interested in working together here? I guess in the mental health space, right? Okay.
I'll talk to you later because Governor Hochul has some wonderful things and she has wonderful trainings, and I trained, and so I'll be happy to sit down and talk to you about what Governor Hochul has, and that would be benefit to you. Okay. All right. My question is as a BIPOC woman that sees a lot of minoritized youth and low access, low opportunity youth, how do we change the mindset of these children so that they can see themselves as Miss Norwood here and have experiences like that? I've been able to help a lot of youth through John Alexander. I know he's going to get mad at me for putting him out there like that. But I've been able to help a lot of youth and a lot of people who are transitioning from NFL careers to their business careers. And John has been helpful with that. But how do I help more so that we can have more people who look like me become entrepreneurs?
Can I take that question, please? Because obviously it means a lot to me as well. What's your name, by the way?
My name is Leonora Mims.
Leonora Mims. Okay, definitely we should connect afterwards. That's been a huge passion of mine, and as a Black woman, I was born in the 1960s. We all know what our country was like then. And part of the reason why I became an entrepreneur was because I had dreams of technology and traveling the world and doing all these, leading, right, and starting things. And I knew that the way that I would be able to do that would be to do it myself. And interestingly enough, because people not only like to invest, but typically mentor people who look like them because it's an intimate relationship, while I was going through this journey, save Cornell, right, I had to, for the most part, figure it out and experiment while I was doing it and being effectively attacked for my race and gender. With that being, I studied, among other things, engineering at Cornell. I had developed a process for myself, and over time, with one of my startups called Tibetan, which is an ed tech startup that focuses on teaching people, innovator and entrepreneurs' mindsets and skill sets for everyday life. They can use it to do startups, but there's also a whole portfolio of skill sets, from the persuasive storytelling that I was talking about to the mindset, cultivating endurance, to the agency mindset. So I had an agency mindset. I gave up on inclusivity decades ago, especially in the tech industry. And thankfully, over time, it had changed, but it took a long time. So if I had waited for it to change, I would have basically blown my whole life, whereas I've had a phenomenal global tech career focusing on my personal agency. I believe in the human potential from cradle to grave. And with Tibetan, we've been activating kids as young as 10 of all races and genders and orientation. And a few weeks ago, I went into a senior home, and my oldest audience member was 102, and really excited about innovation and entrepreneurship and getting involved. So I'm going back with them because they've been very great you have all this life experience that you can give input on to a founder or a startup. I think that's also something that we lose out on as society. But what I would say is, please see me, because I have a whole company that does that, and we've been activating a ton of people in our country and around the world just on that.
Oh, well, excellent. Well, thank you so much, because we're actually at the end of our time, but we have one quick action item for all of you before we formally wrap. So per your question, we wanted to make sure folks had access to resources surrounding getting into angel investing and all the different flavors and spectrum of angel and impact investing that we spoke about. So if you are interested in learning more, connecting with folks that are looking to get into this world of angel investing and that gateway drug, as we talked about, hopefully the QR code is working. We tested it out. Looks like it's working. Hooray. Sign up on the survey here. And this is for students, alumni, faculty, staff. And also, if you have an ask for the community or a give, this is another great forum that you can raise it as well. And we'll share it with a group that consents to be emailed. So definitely sign up here. And thank you to our amazing panelists. We appreciate you. And thank you to the room for participating.
And thank you, Andrea. You are spectacular, truly.
Thank you.
We love Andrea. Okay, thanks so much, guys.